He's Cliff. For the record, I'm Clay. And our talk today is about growing up different in a small town.
And if you didn't realize
what that difference was,
we are both gay and grew up in a very Southern Baptist household.
Yep.
Church, and you can,
yes,
we love Southern Baptist.
We love Southern Baptist, we do.
But you can imagine the difficulty, especially 50 years ago.
Yeah.
When it wasn't talked about, and we didn't talk about it to anyone.
Even each other.
Even each other.
Even each other.
So, best friends.
Always.
Always.
Yeah.
And we knew something was different. What? We didn't really know. And you hold all of that inside, and it just festers.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do.
No. What we had, though, we had church. We had choir. I had piano lessons.
I did do for a little bit, but yeah.
But what church gave us, especially growing up in this town, was a way to be normal and a way to express ourselves through music, through arts, that we knew deep down inside there was something that was very different about both of us. We didn't really come to realize it until much later in life, actually. 25 years ago, almost 26 years ago, when I moved down here to Orlando from Georgia. But growing up in a very small Southern Baptist town, you just didn't talk about it. You were told that's wrong, you're going to hell. You couldn't be yourself.
Yep.
And then as we got older, got through elementary school, we kept with choir.
Yeah.
We started band. Thank gosh. It was another outlet. I was the biggest band nerd in the whole world.
Still is.
Still am. And then when we were 14, the first major catastrophic thing in our life happened. That was we lost our mother at a very early age. Luckily, we had the most amazing dad in the world, though.
Yep. And along with our dad, we also had the most amazing youth minister at our church. And he kind of became our
second mom.
And we were involved in the church at that time, just not as much as we had been because of piano lessons and band and everything else. Life gets in the way and your schedules get crazy. But he brought us in and he was like, I want y'all to get more involved in the youth choir and in the youth group. So we did. And because of that involvement, we got to express ourselves even more with music, with theater, because growing up in that small town, our school system was, because it was so small, we had band and that was it. There was no theater program, and we didn't get to see the arts like if you lived in a bigger town. I remember we were watching, it's probably the
PBS.
The Jerry Lewis telethon back when they used to do that.
You remember
and
that?
They would have all these groups come in, and there was like a singing group here, and there was a production of Cats that they showed, and that's probably different too because not many people like it, but
yeah, we did.
Loved it. So we begged our dad to buy us tickets to see Cats in Atlanta.
No.
God rest your soul. He bought us tickets, took us to Atlanta, 2.5-hour drive. He sat through the first half.
And then at intermission, he was like, I will see you outside after the show. So, but we stayed, we watched the rest of it, and that was our first,
that was our
real introduction to theater.
And we were hooked so bad. And our dad could have said, nope, that's it, no more. But he didn't, and he always encouraged us, and we were like, can we get tickets to Les Mis? And he was like, sure. So then Les Mis and Miss Saigon and everything else that came to the Fox Theater in Atlanta, he bought us tickets to see. And he didn't watch them, but he let us. And
he knew we had that love for the arts, and he never tried to stifle it. And that was what our youth minister did as well. He saw something in both of us, never tried to push us back and say, no, you can't do that. We were always pushed to do more because we've had these amazing people in our lives that have seen something in us. And they've always pushed us, which, they will never know how grateful or thankful we will ever be for that, because it's helped shape our lives in ways we would have never thought. Which leads us to college. We get to college, and as I heard some earlier, go Dogs. We both went to University of Georgia. Cliff majored in landscape architecture, and I majored in music education. How does a landscape architecture turn into a scenic designer?
That's because of you. When your brother creates a group and needs a set designed, he just goes right to the next person that he sees. And thankfully he did that, because it pushed me in the right direction. God has a plan. It may take a while to get to that plan and to understand what that plan is, but it's always there. You never know who's going to point you in that right direction. Luckily, he kind of forced me into that direction. But I've been able to work with some of the most amazing people in this world and create some amazing theater with this guy right here. And it also really introduced me to the family here at St. Luke's Theater. You don't always find a family like the family here at St. Luke's, because they're so welcoming to everyone, absolutely everyone. And the main message that I think Clay and I want for everyone to hear about this, it's okay to be who you are.
Yep.
God created you the way you are, gay, straight, whatever it may be. It's okay. And as long as you love.
Yep. All about love. And that's one thing this church family does better, I think, than any other place I've ever been to in my life. We experienced that as an early age in our church family until we knew something was different and we couldn't stay there.
Yeah.
When we got to college, we found another church family that we luckily got to still be in church and still even promote our arts and our love of the arts and music even further. Then I got to move here to Orlando to be a musician. And growing up in a small town, you were kind of hidden from the rest of the world. At least in our hometown, we were. It was kind of like we were trapped inside this force field in this bubble where a lot of people, even to this day, have never left probably a 5-county radius from our hometown. So they don't see everything else that's out there. College was really opening for that. And then I got to move to Orlando, and I found this community that embraces everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, the good, the bad. You could be yourself. And I was like, I've found my people. St. Luke's does that with everyone, and we love it here. Cliff mentioned, we do these shows. I started this little group called Encore. And it started this little idea, and then it grew and it grew and it grew. And now we have, over probably 500 people involved in this organization. And it's a special place for any person who wants to come in. You're welcome. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. It's a safe place to be able to make art. And it's the most amazing feeling to be able to know that you can bring someone in who you don't know what they're going through in their life. And knowing that you've maybe made just a little bit of a better change in their life. Or I've had, some of the performers in the group come after me after show and was like, you've saved me. And to be able to hear those words come from people is life-changing. And knowing, we were talking earlier, and I was like, that's what church did with us, with the arts. Growing up, not being able to express who we are, it saved us. Yeah. It saved us from getting into trouble with drugs or maybe even thinking of committing suicide because we couldn't be who we were. But arts and the church kept us safe. And I think there's a lot of folks and a lot of kids that can't.
Yeah, they don't have the outlet, or they may not know that there are resources and congregations out there that will embrace them for who they are. I'm thankful for where we grew up and how we grew up and how we were raised, because it shaped us into the men we are today. And I wouldn't give that up for anything. I guess closed-minded as that church we grew up in was, it also taught us to love, and that's God, that's Jesus, that's his teachings. It's not the congregation themselves, it's his word. And luckily that message resonated with us more than anything, because, Clay talks about Encore and how many people are involved in it. It's all volunteer. Those people are there on their own volition, and I wholeheartedly believe that the reason they stay with the group and they continue is because of the love that they are shown when they are there. And that's the thing that needs to be spread to the world, is love. And be who you are. Know that however you are, you're okay.
Yep.
It's okay to be different.
And there are church families out there that will embrace you and love you and take care of you. And that could be the best lesson of all.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.